Hey listeners, welcome back to another video, and today I am going to be carrying on with I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level. This is chapter 5 and we're going to be continuing this as Light Tuesday because it makes better sense than Manga Monday, but let's continue. Chapter 5, The Girls Drop By. My pace had been threatened for a few days after my first contact with Leica, but the waters had calmed again. In other words, I'd gotten used to sharing my home. There was plenty of room in the house, so we could both have some time and space to ourselves. We also took turns doing the cooking, cleaning, and shopping, which made things a lot easier for the both of us. Because we were teacher and apprentice, our relationship wasn't equal, but for joint living, it was ideal. Long ago, when I'd lived in Japan, room sharing had been fairly popular. If you introduced friends of friends, I'd known several people with roommates. The bottom line, though, was I was frequently heard about how hard it was. The primary challenge was exhausting living with someone whose values were different than your own. The sense of distance was difficult as well. I've heard about someone with a roommate who sent them texts and line messages over every little thing, and when the messages were ignored for a short while, the roommate ripped the person a new one and left. Life with someone lacking in common sense or public decency can be a trial too. It's tough when your roommate always skips the cleaning when it's their turn. Even if doing someone else's chores isn't exactly that bad, wondering why you're doing it takes a hefty psychological toll. I've heard many other reports of trouble, so for a long time, more than 300 years at least, but if your roommate is considerate, things would work out, and I could tell with Leica. She also said things like, "There's much I can learn from you, Lady Azuna," practically every day. So I guess the arrangement was worthwhile. What I was actually doing for Leica was anyone else's guess. But excellent apprentices had the ability to find their teachers. Good points without any help. On top of that, she'd rescued me a bit. I hadn't confirmed this directly, but apparently news that the Witch of the Highlands had defeated a dragon had spread all over Nanktree. At the very least, the story that the dragon had become my apprentice was travelling too. I'd thought that it might provoke a big spike in attempts to take my dojo, but by all apprentices, it had done the opposite. Adventurers who already knew that there was no match for a dragon had decided not to bother trying at all. Thanks to that, I was enjoying a pretty peaceful life. On days when Leica did the cleaning, I could use that time to relax and read grimoires. It reminded me of certain memories from my previous life. To be precise, it reminded me of lying in my room reading comics and magazines while my mother cleaned. Yes, that indolent time when even corporate slaves were released from their servitude visiting home. Now that I had a roommate, those blissful spells or something like them became almost everyday reality. Since I'd lived alone for so long, I'd forgotten this pleasure. Truly, things didn't get better than this. Long live room sharing. Of course, on days when it was my turn, I cleaned. I wouldn't throw my weight around just because I was a teacher. As a matter of fact, I was well aware I wasn't big and important enough to do that. I wanted Leica to experience what it was like to have your mum do everything during a trip home too. At any rate, despite the public revelation that I was level 99, I was managing to maintain my idyllic life. I wished this peace would last forever. Oh, that was a flag, wasn't it? One of those thoughts you shouldn't think. Bam, bam, bam! Someone knocked at the door. Who could it be? This house didn't often get visitors. Shall I answer it? No. You go ahead and clean, Leica. I'll get it. I closed my grimoire and headed for the entryway. When I opened the door, the individual standing there was a girl with blue hair. She looked about 10 years old. Even in this world, I didn't remember seeing many people with blue hair. Her expression was cheerful, and her eyes were sparkling as they fixed on me. At the very least, she didn't seem to be lost. "Hello, did you need something?" Since the visitor had been an adventurer about to say, "Fight me!" my expression softened. The highlands around here were peaceful, and children probably played nearby sometimes. "I finally got to see you! I'm so happy!" "What's this? Am I popular with children now too?" "I'm so glad to meet you, Mummy!" I turned to stone. Just so you know, I didn't mean that someone hit me with a petrification spell. It was a figure of speech. "Mommy? Did this girl say mommy?" I'm not your mummy, dear. I'm pretty sure you're looking for someone else. Huh? No, this can't be it. You're Falfa's mummy. Falfa knows for sure. A girl I just met was calling me her mother. Good thing she hadn't said it in the village. That would have been a sure way to start unwanted rumors. Not only that, but the village is what it was. Those rumors would have spread fast. For the record, in my 300 years in this world, I'd never had a real romantic relationship. There was a good reason. I was an immortal witch, and even if I fell in love with somebody, they would get old and die without me. It was hard enough watching the villagers die. A lover would have been too painful. For that reason, I consciously steered clear of romance. Definitely not because I wasn't popular or anything. Seriously, on top of that, the only people I had much contact with were the villagers. As far as they were concerned, I was a witch who'd been there since long before they were born, like the villagers' guardian deity. They might feel awe and respect for me, but romantic love probably didn't seem like an option. And so, that sort of love had never been a part of my life. Naturally, I had no children. Your name is Falfa? Uh-huh, Falfa? Falfa, Mummy, is what you call the lady who gave birth to you and raised you. You don't call other women Mummy. She just probably defined the word Mummy differently than the rest of the world. That's not true. You made me, Mummy. Well, this is strange. I can't possibly have forgotten going through childbirth. Lady Azuna, who in the world is this? Apparently of the opinion that I was taking a long time to deal with this, like I had left the cleaning and come over. I'm Falfa. I came to meet Mummy. Lady Azuna, you have a child? No, I don't. This girl has the wrong idea. Falfa doesn't have the wrong idea. Lady Azuna, is it possible you're a stepmother? This had become so complicated that I was getting confused. I'd been prepared for adventurers trying to best me, but this ordeal was too new. I even know you're called Witch of the Highlands. My little sister looked it up. You have a little sister? So now I'm a mother of at least 2 daughters? What's going on here? And you see, Mummy, my little sister's trying to kill you, so I thought I should let you know, and that's why I'm here. She wants to kill me? And now we're suddenly in a thriller. I don't want you to die, Mummy. That's why I came here before she did, to warn you. Falfa's expression had hardened. She didn't appear to be joking, and she didn't seem mature enough to pull a prank like this anyways. Lady Azuna, for now, let's invite the child in and listen to what she has to say. Leica was right. This was way too creepy. Falfa, I'll give you some sweets. Come on in. Sure, Falfa wants sweets. In exchange, would you explain to me about what you just told me? Uh-huh. Falfa nodded energetically. Did she resemble me as a child? Just a little? No, not really. I'd baked cookies 2 days earlier, so I had Leica retrieve them. While we waited, the girl and I continued our conversation in the living room. What is your little sister's name, Falfia? Salsha. And Salsha is my child too? Mm-hmm, that's right. I felt like I was grilling a witness. Still, my life was on the line, so here's what I knew at this point. I had another daughter named Salsha, and she was gunning for me. In other words, almost nothing. I'd have to get a lot more information out of her. Do you know why Salsha is after me? I think it's because she resents you, Mummy. I bet she's mad because you killed her. This is weird. My laid-back, fancied life had taken a sharp turn for the sci-fi. I had daughters I didn't remember giving birth to, and on top of that, one of them was trying to get revenge on me for killing her. Was there even a logical explanation of this bizarre twist of events? Just then, Leica came in carrying a plate of cookies. Falfa squealed, "Yay, cookies!" and innocently began chowing down. I could hear the 2 of you back there. In any case, we need to protect you from this Salsha individual, won't we? That would be top priority, yes. Finding out who the enemy really was would come later. Falfa, do you know how she will attack? Salsha spent a long time training with the Smiting Evil spell. Smiting Evil was a spell that exercised great power against a specific race, and only that race. For example, one could negate attacks from humans, orcs, or elves, and inflict damage on them. People who acquired such magic often ended up as an expert-specific assassins, known by aliases like Cyclops Killer or Spectre Slayer. The narrower it focuses, the more powerful smiting evil's effect, and the thinner it was spread. The weaker it got, for example, a spell like Smiting Evil, living creature, would almost do nothing. Not that anyone was likely to try learning that. A Smiting Evil spell? They say even high-level casters have to spend decades on it before it was worth anything. I knew what Lycan meant. It was why people became expert race-specific assassins. The spell took so long to acquire that it wasn't a sought-after skill. For that reason, if Salcia had only lived as long as her elder sister's apparent age suggested, her Smiting Evil spell would probably be limited in power. But both Lyca and I had been alive for 3 centuries, so I couldn't bank on that. How old is Salcia? Maybe 50. Falfa tilted her head as she spoke. Maybe she wasn't that confident in her answer. Still, working from that, I could guess. The enemy was either immortal or something like that. In that case, there was a risk she'd be a caster to watch out for. But what iteration of Smiting Evil would work against me? Smiting Evil, human? Or would it be Smiting Evil, immortal? I bet Salcia's going to be here soon. Be careful, Mummy. Falfa was eating a cookie as she spoke, and right after it happened, clatter, clatter, clatter. The window glass trembled. I had a bad feeling about what was out there. I'm going to go check outside. Growing uneasy, I left the house. Lyca and Falfa followed me. Standing far off in the highlands was a little girl who looked a lot like Falfa. Her hair was light green, though, and it was floaty still. Salcia, finally found you, witch of the highlands, the girl cawed in a resounding voice. Salcia, don't pick on Mummy! Falfa, calling this girl by name, positively identified her as Salcia. Be quiet, sister. I'm going to avenge my murder. Yep, she was talking like she'd been killed. Salcia, wasn't it? I don't think I could possibly have killed you. What is this about? Salcia snorted. Hey, just how many slimes do you think you've killed? Huh? Why are we talking about slimes now? My sister and I were born from the ascended souls of slaughtered slimes. We're slime spirits. Slime spirits? I would have understood flame spirits or water spirits. But are slime spirits even a thing? That's right, you destroyed an astronomical number of slimes in this area, and I am their minuscule souls accumulated until they created slime spirits. Begins without precedent, my sister and I. Salcia sounded bitter. As a result, the anger of the countless lives you stole dwells in Salcia too. I've come to balance the scales. I'd assumed it was impossible for slimes to take revenge, but apparently I'd been incorrect. I'd created an enemy. Alright, fight me, and I'll kill you and offer you to the souls of the slimes to ensure their response. Ensure their response? But didn't those souls get together and turn into you? It was kind of like they'd been recycled, in a way. Shut up, come at me. She looked more miffed than enraged. She was definitely planning to go through with this. Lady Azuna, why not hit her with a whirlwind and see what happens, Lyca suggested. Well, she is a spirit. I doubt I would have to worry about killing her. You're right, maybe I'll do that. I thrust my hand out in front of me. Then I unleashed a tempest on Salcia. However, vanish, whirlwind! At the girl's command, the attack did indeed disappear. You see, I trained for many, many years and obtained the spell, Smiting Evil, Witch of the Highlands. That means I'll never lose to you. You what? I see. The narrower the range of Smiting Evil, the more powerful it was. If the spell was limited to me specifically, it would be a force to be reckoned with. But was that even possible to learn a spell targeting someone you'd only just met? As slime spirits, the two of us understood why we were born. For that reason, my sister Salcia investigated places where many slimes had been killed, tracked you down, and then gathered fallen hairs and other materials she needed for Smiting Evil, Falfia told me. So there was the same premise as putting hair inside a doll to curse someone. I wanted to meet you sooner, Mummy, but Salcia said we mustn't meet our enemy. When her Smiting Evil spell was complete, though I couldn't just leave things this way, so I came here. You're such a good girl, Falfia. Well, you're my Mummy. It was complicated, but the way they had been born because of me, so you could probably say I was their mother. Was this a result of my abnormal focus on killing slimes? By the way, Falfia, don't you hate me? I'm a spirit born of assembled souls, but I want to be friends with you, Mummy, because I got to be born at all. She was this close to triggering my maternal instincts, such an incredibly good girl. However, this wasn't the time for that. Little by little, Salshia was approaching. How strange, my sister and I were born at the same time, so why are our personalities so very different? I can't forgive the Witch of the Highlands. The sinister atmosphere was spreading. To be frank, Smiting Evil, Witch of the Highlands, is an extremely unique spell, and the amount of mana it consumes is vast. Even if I invest 50 years worth of mana, it will only last a few hours, and it was all for this day. Talk about lousy mileage. There must have been a more normal way for you to live. Did you really just sit around and wait all the time without taking revenge? When I was born 50 years ago, you were already one of the most powerful witches in existence. I could tell from how fast you were exterminating slimes. That was why I decided to develop an exclusive spell and store up mana. She'd clearly poured her passion into the wrong thing. Use any spell you like. Every one of them will be rendered powerless. This time, I tried hitting her with fire. Red flames, blue flames, black flames serve as my strength. Fire blazed up, bright and crimson, and hit Salshia with a merciless blast. But she was completely unscathed. The inferno seemed to fly apart before reaching her. Now do you see the power of Smiting Evil, Witch of the Highlands? Salshia didn't strike me as the expansive type, but now she wore a fearless smile. This is bad. None of my attacks had any effect. I had no way to fight. In that case, was running my only option? When something's hurting you, do you get out of there? In my previous life, my work had killed me because I couldn't escape my corporate servitude. This time, I was going to run for it. I had a levitation spell. I've heard the spell will last for only a few hours, so if I managed to keep running until then, I could deal with it. I rose in the air. However, when I was about 10 meters off the ground, "Oh, spell, vanish!" Salshia murmured, and I dropped to the ground with a thud. My feet throbbed. That's not safe. If I wasn't a level 99 witch, I could have broken something. I won't let you get away. I'm going to kill you like all the slimes you've killed. Salshia was coming closer. Was it? Was it the time to pay the piper? Even if I was level 99, how could I win when my opponent was like an ultimate weapon designed to defeat me? Besides, I'd already lived through 3 centuries. Falfia, sweetheart, I'm glad I met you before the end. Falfia was nearby, and I hugged her tightly, embracing my daughter before the imminent death. Potent, don't you think? Mummy, don't say things like that. Help Falfia think of a way out. Falfia was shouting, I'm sorry, it looks like there's nothing I can do, though. Lady Azuna, leave this to me. Leica was desperate too. Thank you, Leica. I was proud to have you as my apprentice. Also, your omelets were delicious. It's all right. We can win. Stop it. There's no way we can beat that. It's just as she says, I only intend to kill the Witch of the Highlands. I don't plan on going after anyone else, so hurry and run away. I remembered a horror movie I'd seen a long time ago. A machine-like assassin creeping even closer, just like this. Still, she sure was taking her time. She wasn't even trying to end this fight in one go. My little sister is a slow runner, little Falfia suggested. Doesn't that mean we could get away if we ran? Leica seemed to have heard. She transformed from a girl to a dragon and planted herself before Salshia in confusion. I won't allow you to take a single step beyond this point. Out of my way, dragon. Salshia's voice was cold. I refuse. I have a duty to protect my teacher. Don't like her, that's dangerous. Leica turned her head towards me slightly and smiled. It's all right, Lady Azuna. I'll catch up with you right away, so please run. That's like guaranteeing you'll die. I'm telling you, don't even go there. I know you won't actually catch up. You see, my elder sister is getting married next month. I must attend her wedding. Why are you making this worse? I'll protect you, Lady Azuna. Eat this. Dragon kick! Leica's foot slashed out at Salshia. It was hopeless. I knew how it would go. Her target would win with a counterattack, but it never came. Ow! It hurts! Salshia had fallen. Huh? This isn't what I was expecting. Leica was curiously examining her opponent. Lady Azuna. She's unconscious. I won. Huh? You can win with a twist like that? She had derailed the cliche. My sister Salcia overspecified in magic that would kill you, mummy, so I guess she was really weak against everybody else. Falfia spoke the truth. Ah, Leica was a dragon, so Salcia's spell hadn't affected her. Now, that matter was settled, I mused. Salcia, kind of an awkward child. After Leica's attack knocked Salcia down, my crisis was over for the time being. We couldn't just leave her lying on the ground, so I put her in the bed in an empty room in my house. We'd furnished the rooms with guest beds for times like this. An hour later, Salcia woke up. Huh? Where am I? Oh, Salcia's awake. Falfia rushed over to see her. Oh, sister, the Witch of the Highlands is here. Leica and I were in the room too. Leica beat you and you collapsed, so we put you to bed. Your unwarranted mercy will be your doom. I have the spell Smiting Evil, Witch of the Highlands. My power. You burned through all your mana, so you won't be able to use that spell for another several decades. Salcia's face blanched. She must have realized she couldn't activate her spell. We had heard about that from her sister Falfia and had already made sure. After all, if she'd been able to use it for another hour, we would have had problems. No! What was the point of my life up until now? I really couldn't tell you. That's what happens when you live a tragic life of revenge. Honestly, I'd say you're lucky I'm alive. What do you mean? If I died, your life really would have been meaningless. As long as I'm around, you can work towards your payback. I thought that the optimistic remark might have been laying on a little thick, but Salcia took it quite seriously. You could put it that way. Yes, you see. Apparently, I managed to persuade her. Salcia glanced at her arm. It had medicinal herbs bound to it. Mummy knows a whole lot about medicinals. You got hurt fighting Leica, you know. You should heal twice as fast this way. Though I don't know much about slime spirit recuperation. Witch of the Highlands, you'd go so far? Working with the medicinal herbs is my job as a witch. Yeah, if you're injured, I'll treat you. But can there be anything in that for you, witch? The child certainly did ask a lot of questions. Well, I am your mother, aren't I? In that case, I can't very well leave you in that state. Actually, if any child collapsed, I'd help them even if I weren't their parent. We're ignoring her actual age in this case. Right now, though, I should probably admit I was doing it because I was her mother. For some reason, Salcia's eyes had filled with tears. You could make the case that you're my parent, but even so, you are Slime's enemy and... Falfa took Salcia's hand. Salcia, stop putting up a front, okay? Sister, slimes and humans fight. That's how it is. Even now, slimes are being killed all over the world. Mummy disappearing wouldn't change that. True. On a global scale, the number of slimes I'd eradicated was probably infinitional. Never mind that. Let's think of ways to live happily. That's more fun, isn't it? Salcia nodded in response. Despite her childish bearing, Falfa was being a proper big sister. Lady Azuna, it looks as though the matter is settled. Having watched the whole business from start to finish, Leica seemed relieved. You're right. I really wasn't sure how things were going to turn out this time, but... Oh, Lady Azuna, if we split them into fourths, I think my omelettes and other meals would be the perfect size for their typical appetite. Her words were clearly intended to suggest that the four of us had dinner together. But Leica, a quarter wouldn't even be enough for you. I'll make extra for myself. All right, I'll accept those good intentions. I approached my daughters. We still have empty rooms, so if you like, you can live here. In fact, just come on, move in. Where and how these two had been living was a mystery, but I could ask her about that later. Sure, Falfa wants to live with you, Mummy. The older sister wouldn't be a problem. Now, what about the younger one? Salcia seemed conflicted, but Witch of the Highlands. No, calling me Witch of the Highlands, find something a little more formal. After a moment, Salcia averted her eyes and said, My mum? Salcia wouldn't mind living with you either. Okay, then that settles it. Why don't we have a party today? When you want to deepen a relationship, parties are a good place to start. This would be nothing like the drinking parties I reluctantly attended ages ago. Maybe I'll make a tart. Yay, I love tarts, Falfia cheered. In that case, I'll make an omelette again. Yay, I love omelettes too. It didn't take much to make this girl happy. On the other hand, Salshia looked sulky, but, "Mum, I'd like to help with the cooking," she said without smiling. "Yes, thank you. I believe I'll take you up on that." Frankly, I didn't feel remotely guilty about killing slimes. Besides, if you took that logic to the extreme, you wouldn't be able to kill any living things at all. Humans eat living creatures for the most part, so if you wanted to avoid taking lives, you'd have to die. Nevertheless, it was probably true that my slime slaying had led to the birth of these girls, in which case I might be able to bring peace to the souls of the departed by acting as their mother. Plus, I simply thought the girls needed one. They'd probably manage to make their own, but it would be better for them to have a place called home. I'd spent an easygoing 300 years as a witch in another world. I'd killed slime after slime and acquired twin daughters as a result. When you're long-lived, all sorts of things happen to you, don't they? A laid-back experience with a large family might be good in its own way. By the way, do slime spirits eat regular food? We don't need to eat, but we can, Salsha responded, still looking down. We were gradually beginning to communicate. Oh? Like his expression said, she just noticed a problem. She spoke to Falfia, sounding apologetic. Is it alright if I kill slimes in the future? Sure, it's part of the laws of nature. Don't trouble yourself about it. Both sisters had okayed it, so it looked as though Laika would be able to continue her training. After that, we set the food and I asked my daughters all kind of questions about themselves. Even though I was calling them my daughters, there was much I didn't know about them. If I was going to understand them, I had to ask. First, where have they lived? In a hut in the forest, Salsha answered. My big sister and I were born in the woods, so we lived in a little place no one was using. And then we went to a nearby town. The director of the orphanage gave us money, and then we went to a nearby town. The director of an orphanage gave us money we used to buy clothes and shoes and stuff. Since we were strong enough to work as adventurers, we did that to earn money. We lived for a month on 1 gold coin, didn't we? A humble but honest life, it seemed. Next, what exactly was a slime spirit? We can stretch our hair out like tentacles. My hair is light green because it's slime-like properties. Mine is blue, and my little sister's is green because we're spirits. We don't really have any distinctive traits, although as spirits we don't seem to have a natural lifespan. We both stay like this. I'd gotten a general idea of exactly what they were. By the way, what sort of work did you do when you were adventurers? They didn't strike me as very strong. Had they been full-fledged adventurers and defeated monsters? We vanquished evil slimes. Say what? You see, there are 2 types of slimes, good ones and bad ones, meaning slimes are subject to the good and evil. We killed the bad ones and sold them for 200 gold each. That's the same as me. We didn't kill any good slimes, of course. As far as Salsha is concerned, there's no problem. I see. Apparently you can't fight your blood heritage. Though these girls were made of slimes, so we definitely weren't blood relations. As so, I figured I'd learn the essentials. I discover the rest in the course of our days together. Alright, we have a few house rules. Make sure to follow them, you two. Okay. Instead of speaking aloud, Salsha simply nodded. First, when it's your turn to do the chores, you do them properly. I mean, like cleaning or working in the field. Okay. As before, Salsha nodded. It would have felt odd coming up with a nickname or something for enthusiastic Falfa, but not Salsha. So I decided to call my daughters by their names. We'll get the chore chart figured out later. Other than that, was there something else? I'd never had children before, so I didn't really know. All right, if you hadn't been to school at all, do you want me to teach you? Do you know how to write? My big sister sneaked into the house of the town scholar to read mathematical essays and stuff. 2 of them really hit it off after that. I apologize for treating you like children. My sister Salsha is really good at history, theology, and geometry. I might be the one getting educated here. At this rate, my dignity as a mother wouldn't last. I had to do something, or my daughters would start underestimating me. Alright, I'll let them see people respecting me. There's a village called Flatia nearby. I'll show you around tomorrow. I owe them a lot, so make sure you're on your best behavior, you two. This time, they both nodded. Laika, my 2 daughters and I walked to the village of Flatia. On the way, slimes blocked the path, so I brushed them away. At my current level though, that was enough to dispose of them. Just make sure it's really okay to kill you guys. To be on the safe side, I checked with my daughters. Sure, I never minded, and my little sister always seems used to it. Yes, Mum. I was relieved to have their permission. Since we're a 4-person family now, we needed to earn more magic stones and money than before. The slimes here are evil. Yes, I think so too. Get rid of the bad slimes and purify the world. With the proclamations, my daughters slaughtered some slimes themselves. So, you can tell if they're wicked? What do you look for? If you see it, you'll understand. With that, Salsha abruptly divided into a thicket. I could hear some scrambling around in the bush, and she returned with a slime in hand. I noticed it lurking in there. Apparently, she had some expert slime catching skills. I'd expect no less of a slime spirit. Look, as a rule, naturally slimes are deeper in colour, but this one is pale purple. I'd never heard that distinction before. I never once paid attention to the colour of slimes. They're pale because they're tainted by the evil hearts, so it's best to exterminate them. Is that right? That's very informative. Slimes have a hole. That's the weak point. Poke them there and they'll die instantly. A hole? But slimes don't have anything like that. Falfia lightly jabbed one that Salsha was holding. This slime is already dead. The creature blinked out of existence. See? I get the feeling it was precisely because they're former slimes that were showing their kind no mercy. That's incredible. I must learn to kill slimes like that myself. Leica, you're welcome to be impressed, but there's nothing wrong with just taking care of them the regular way, alright? It's not like you get more experience points for style. As we chatted, we reached Flatia. Today's objective was the public presentation of my daughters. Just so you know, I did have a plan to tell people that they were slime spirits. The two of them seemed to have a few unique powers, and I thought it's best to let people know ahead of time. However, things kept getting complicated again. The first time was when we were passing by the greengrocers at the village entrance. "Oh, Mummy, there's all kinds of fruit for sale," Falfia called cheerfully. The lady who ran her shop heard her. "What? Great witch, you have children? Not only that, but they are twins?" That's about the reaction I was expecting. Yes, they're both my daughter. They were born in a slightly unusual way, though. I explained that they were slime spirits. I also wanted to head off the rumor that I had a husband before he got started. I walked through the village, introducing my daughters to everyone. My, what adorable children. Are they 10 or so? Actually, they were probably about 50, but that would probably confuse everybody further. Still, keeping quiet about it, it wouldn't have been good either, so I explained. At first, people looked startled, but they seemed to have convinced themselves. If the Great Witch is 300, isn't it too strange for her children to be 50? Since I'd walked Falfia and Salsha through the village, they were now familiar faces. The villagers were already calling them names and greeting them. Although the majority had trouble telling them apart, the one with blue hair is the oldest sister, Falfia, and the one with the light green hair is the younger, Salsha. Incidentally, as I introduced the two of them to the villagers, I also did the reverse. I was teaching my daughters about the town. Since we were going to be living together, they would be part of our family's home territory. That's the bakery. Next to it is the clothing shop. They deal in second-hand clothing too. Remember, so you don't get lost when you run errands. Okay, Mummy, I've already memorized them really good. Alright then, how many of the shops on the main road can you name? Starting from the village's southern gate, there is Noel's the shoemaker, and there's May's dairy product shop on the 6th block. On the 5th block, there's an abandoned building that was a general store until it closed down 8 years ago. Then the Kent Trading Company, which sells valuable seeds and farming tools. You know way too much. So the shop that sells cheese and milk and things is called Miette's Dairy Products. In 300 years, I'd never bothered to notice its official name. I think the villagers would probably have gotten confused if someone had asked them where Miette's Dairy Products was, too. Did you memorize them, Salsha? Uh-huh. Salsha seemed to be generally reserved, and I could still sense the little distance between us. She had come to attack me, and as if we'd done nothing as a parent and child before this, in a way, it was inevitable. I guess we can just warm up to each other as time goes by. It would have been even stranger if I suddenly managed to be perfect at it. In that case, Salsha, could you tell me how much you've learned about the village too? That slightly wider road is an old highway, and so, if you look carefully, you can see the traces of the past as a state road. Over there are the ruins of an old kingdom period checkpoint. I didn't tell you a single thing about any of that. What is she? A travel show host? At any rate, I learned the two of them were extremely bright. Spirits are special beings, aren't they? After 50 years, I guess you aren't just simple and innocent anymore. They certainly are your daughters, Lady Azuna. They're both clever. Leica complimented them, but I thought they were long past clever. Just then, I heard a grumbly sound. It was Leica's stomach. I'm sorry. I've walked more than usual today, so... Flustered, Leica blushed. Were dragons well behaved as a rule, or was it just Leica's personality? Maybe it was both. All right. Well, that's the end of the tour. Why don't we go and eat now? Yay! I'd like that. It was good to see them so excited at the prospect, just like ordinary kids. After that, the four of us ate together at the Savvy Eagle. Mummy, do I have to eat the celery too? Mom, I don't really like celery. Their attitudes relieved me a bit. Oh, now they sound like actual children. Well, if you eat it, you can order the chiffon cake afterwards. They seemed torn, but took the plunge and scoffed down the celery. Very good. You mustn't be picky eaters. One soup plate, however, still retained its celery. It was Leica's. You see, in my tribe, there is a rule that we must not eat. We can eat our own medicinal herbs, even if they're bitter, but... Leica, if that's true, I don't mind. But don't lie to your teacher at all. I pressed her gently. I'm terribly sorry. I'll eat it. So, it had been a lie. Leica squeezed her eyes shut and put the celery in her mouth. Oh, you're so good. Falfa patted Leica in the space between her horns. It was like I'd picked up a third daughter. I giggled in spite of it. I'd always enjoyed eating out, but this might have been the most fun I'd had yet. At the very least, it was 4 times as much fun as being alone. I wonder what celery tastes like this. Leica had written all over her face, so I finished the rest of it for her. And there we go. There is chapter 5 of I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level. Now that was quite a fun chapter. I'm hoping that you really like this. And we're going to be continuing on with the next chapter, which I'm looking forward to reading. But if you like this sort of content and you want to see more, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, as well as a cheeky notification bell to be notified when more videos drop. And we're going to carry on next time with the next chapter. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.
チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとうございます。チャンネル登録、高評価お願いします。以下のリンクから商品を入手することができます。